Hey, welcome to the Huntsville Hustle Podcast. We share stories of grit, grace, and greatness right here in Huntsville small business scene. And today, I got my friend Choya Wise. He's a founder and director of Aspire Counseling and Consulting Services. He's got over 20 years experience in mental health, and he's making a difference in so many lives in our community. And we're going to hear about that and also the business side of things. And Choya, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, it's great to be here, Joe. Glad to be representing, and it's been good to see you. It's been good to see what you've been doing in business and making it happen. And I'm excited to be here at your podcast.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you coming on. And I know people are going to get to know you a little bit. That's going to be an awesome thing because if you get to know him, I'll tell you, you're going to like him. So, but it's not just you. Tell me about your team, what you guys specialize in.
So we specialize primarily in relationship counseling, okay? But that's just kind of to sum it up. When we talk about relationship counseling, we're coming from the perspective of not just marriage and couples, but relationships in general. Like a lot of us sometimes have problems with connecting and having intimate relationships. That could be with family, friends. Some of us are really introverted. Some of us have anxiety about relationships. So we specialize in that, but we also support individuals with depression, anxiety. Trauma is a big thing that we do. PTSD, you name it, we cover it. And so, we've got an extensive team, and we also support with helping with children who are having concerns. If you're having some ADHD issues, we work with that as well.
Yeah, man, y'all are across the board. I'm telling you, these guys are making a huge
Yeah.
difference and impact in our city around here and the surrounding areas as well. But so I got to ask you, man, there's so many regular jobs out there. Why'd you have to start a business?
Yeah, man. Well, it's a crazy thing because ever since I was young, Joe, when I was like a young boy, I can remember that I wanted to have my own business. And growing up, getting older, I still had that feeling that I wanted to have a business. I just never knew what I wanted to have a business and doing what. And so, growing up, my mom used to have me going door to door making sales and things like that so that I could pay for my private school tuition. And sometimes we'd be in front of liquor stores and stuff and having literature and stuff. And I hated that, man. I hated it. I felt like I was begging. It was just awkward. You're walking up to people, strangers that you just don't know. But the thing is that as a business person, I learned later how big of an influence that was. It built something in me to make me want to do business. And then my grandmother, she was probably legally blind. And so she would have back then, I'm dating myself, but she would have cassettes that since she couldn't read it, except for with that big old triple quadruple focus lens, magnifying glass, she would just listen to it. So she would have me reading tapes for like $5 a tape. So she was like, you can have anything that you want. And she meant it, but it's $5 a tape. So that was a whole hour that me as a young kid, maybe 11, 12 or something like that. So I learned how to make money, and that all that just ended up being a piece for me getting into entrepreneurship, just learning the work ethic of entrepreneurship, learning the hustle, learning how to make those sales, and that's where I ended up.
Man, that's great training right there. Learning you got to do some stuff you don't want to do if you're going
Yes,
to be successful.
my goodness. Yes, grind. You have to grind.
That's it. So you
Yeah.
mentioned some things that you guys work with in the beginning. How did COVID shape your business?
COVID, and I feel kind of funny even talking about that. I was affected badly by COVID. I was out in the hospital and things for a little bit. COVID was near the start of my business, because I started probably officially around March of 2018. So we were just getting it going and starting to have some momentum. And then all of a sudden, COVID. And I thought that this would be the end because I was seeing people in person. You couldn't see them in person anymore. We went virtual, and I thought it was going to be into my business. And then people were saying, no, man, but people are going to need mental health. But I'm like, they can't work. And so where's the money? Long story short, it really helped the business, to be honest, because ever since COVID, the impact, it was already escalating. The impact of depression and anxiety and mental health concerns overall has really just skyrocketed. I don't think they really even know what's what's bringing this on over the past few years. And so, yeah, it was a builder for my business. I only lost 1 or 2 clients, and we just kept rolling. I'm still doing mostly virtual now.
Yeah, I think the world went virtual at one point.
Yeah.
We all, even
Yeah.
as a fitness guy, we had to go virtual as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, this is wild. I
Wow.
mean, I know there's so much anxiety out there, so you guys are doing a great service with that because there's people out there that still have crippling anxiety, and a lot of it stems back from
Absolutely.
kind of going through those COVID times. So that's a
Yes.
valuable service you guys are
It's
offering.
definitely brought that up, man. It's awakening that. Yeah.
So how do
So,
you handle your own mental health? What do you do to take care of your own health?
well, I get a counselor when I need one, or if we need one. I try is a I'm dating myself. Most people probably hadn't heard of that, but it was this commercial back in the day, and this guy was selling the hair products, and he looked real good. You know what I'm talking about, Joe? He was looking so good, and then he said, "Not only am I a salesman, but I'm a buyer. Basically, I'm a part of this." And they showed the pictures like he had a deal going on before that, but that's just to say that, yeah, I try to be that person that doesn't just talk about it, but that lives it as well. And there's sometimes stigma with that, and I had to get over that and learn that, yeah, you're a human being. Being in mental health doesn't mean that you're supposed to have it together. You're just supposed to know what to tell other people to do.
I think
I'm
it's
like,
so funny, but I
I'm
use
being
that
extreme.
I use that line too. I think it's so funny, two bald guys to talk about a hair commercial from back in the
Yeah.
80s. Man, but
Tell us
kids
about
don't
our
know that
life
we
experience.
watched the same stuff back then. We only had
Yeah,
like 3, 4 channels, so we all watched the same shows, same commercials. So we got the
exactly.
same
Back
reference
in the
points.
80s, man. Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
So how you've got that team you're in charge of. How have you grown as a leader? Guiding that team with your business.
Well, it's grown me because initially, I'm not gonna lie, I was afraid to grow. It was never my idea to scale to the point of hiring people. Because I'm pretty introverted. I feel I used to have a lot of anxiety about somebody else messing up my business and trying to be accountable for people that I can't, in a sense, control. Not that I want to control you, but I know that I'm 9 times out of 10 not going to screw stuff up. So, but what happens when I get somebody else on my team? I can't secure that. So that was kind of anxiety provoking for me. Once I overcame that, and I think a lot of us business owners, once we get to the point of scale, we eventually have to come to the point of like delegation, hiring a team and things like that. But once that happened, it really it elevated my business in a way that I can't explain. It helped me to understand some of these leaders that run, like the Shark Tank people that run multiple businesses that they don't even see. I want to get to that level to where I can delegate on that level. But yeah, it grew me as far as trust, as far as discipline, as far as being able to take risk. And so we've just been trying to take it up from there. And I've become more confident using some of the networks that they have with virtual assistants and things is like that. And it's just been doing amazing things for my business.
Man, that's it. I think most business owners at one point in time have thought nobody's going to run it like I will.
Man, that
Nobody
was
will do it
tough,
like I
man.
will. You just got to
Yeah.
get over that, right? That's a tough
Yeah,
one to
it's
get over
so
with.
that was tough. That was tough.
So how
Yeah.
do you use your relationship training within your team? I mean, I know I think I'm just picturing y'all all just like using therapy against each other.
Yeah, yeah.
What does that look like for you guys?
Well, to be honest, because we're virtual, the majority of my business virtual. I do a little bit, in person. I never did get back, from the office because I actually wanted to be virtual, but I didn't think anybody would come. But COVID just pushed everybody there, and they're like, "Yeah, we're good. That's more convenient for us anyway."
Yeah.
But because we're virtual, I'm kind of, in a sense, laissez-faire. A lot of my staff are contractors, and then I have, one or two employees. I think I just have one employee right now. And so they pretty much they do their own thing, and my wife does a lot of the management. And I've just been really particular about who I hire. And that saved me. I mean, some of the people that I've hired have been former supervisees of mine. So I've already had a relationship with them, trained them. Like two of my contractors, one of my contractors, one of my employees, that's been the case. So I could bring a team building aspect and things like that, but this has been functioning pretty good. And again, my style was that I really never wanted to do all of that. Do you see what I'm saying? And I think for some businesses it's really necessary, but when you have a setup to where everybody pretty much does their own thing, until you see some things that need to be tweaked out, I just haven't found it super necessary for me.
There you go. Hey, if it
And I
ain't
like
broke, don't try to fix it, right?
yeah, I like it's been doing it for a little while now, so it's working.
That's
Who knows though? Things can change.
so. What do you think makes Huntsville so good for business environment?
Oh my goodness, Huntsville. Oh man, it's the growth. I mean, it's that town though to where man, it's been like this for a long time. I talked to some people from like that was here in the 50s and 60s. It's just always been very diverse, and they would bring uh big businesses and things like government because of the peacefulness of Huntsville, NASA and things like that. They always, my understanding, they always wherever we go, it can't be a lot of crazy stuff going on, right? Um, and so I think Huntsville, because it's balanced like that, and because they're constantly building, I don't know that the cost of living is cheap anymore. We're getting competitive, you know. But I think overall, it's still going to be better than up north. It still has that hometown vibe, but then it has a little city in it too. And so I think that's just a spectacular thing. And man, if you're anywhere in with engineering or contract with the government and things like this, boy, I don't know too many better spots that you can go besides Huntsville. We're still ranking up in some of the top places to live.
Oh yeah, it's because me and you are here. That's what I heard.
That's what I mean. We're trying to make a difference out here, and I think people are seeing it. So keep on coming.
That's right. Hey, y'all are welcome. Y'all are worth it. Okay, but we're not. You mentioned it. We're not perfect though. So if you could
No,
change
no.
kind of one thing about the business environment, what would you change?
Man, the business environment. I would say just perspective on growth. My perspective on growth and perspective mixed with organization. There are still a lot of systems that I need to develop in business. In my business, there needs to be a lot more systems because sometimes I think we make work more difficult than what it is, but we're so much on the go that we don't just pump the brakes and take the time and say, how can this be done better? And there's a lot of how can this be done better things that's in my business. I don't know if it was Google or one of those big businesses. I think that once a week or something like that is that they just meet like brainstorming to see what needs to change. How can we change systems and things like that? I need to get back to that.
Yeah, I think I get caught up in that too, where you're just so busy with your head down, going to work.
Yeah.
You kind of quit that brainstorming, that big picture planning stuff. I get caught
Yeah,
up in that as well.
definitely. Because in my mind, and it's not true. It's like this is not bringing me money. This is not bringing my business money, sitting down, just making, these plans that might, as I'm doing it, sometimes you do those strategy sessions and they end up going nowhere. But the reality is it is making you money because when you become more efficient, when you put in systems, you stop trying to have your hands in everything. I'm so glad that I'm easing my hands off of so much more, Joe, than what I used to. I don't even have to I don't see the amount, and I love seeing my clients. I don't see the amount that I used to because I'm doing business administration, and then I have more flexibility. So I can make more money, but the freedom, you know, and like we talked about earlier before we got on, what are you trying to do with your family? You know what I'm saying? The time that you're trying to do with your family. What life is more. The money is important, but life is more than that for me.
Oh, I'm with you 100% on that
Yeah,
freedom thing. And
yeah.
you got a 5-year-old, you got a 10-year-old. You don't want to miss them growing up, man.
No,
That
and
ain't worth
that's
the
what
amount
I
of money.
got. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what makes you different from your competition?
What makes me different is that we don't just hire anybody. Our people are seasoned and trained. The individuals that I bring in have a proven track record of success. Now, Chris, she's one of our newer therapists, but she was trained by me. And she actually, to be honest, her numbers when we're talking about retention, when we're talking about people coming back and things like that, she's high. Now, one of my other clinicians is battling right with her, but that shows you, these ladies they come to handle business and they're doing a lot. So what makes us different is our focus is on people. I'm talking business because this is a business podcast, but I'm very serious about making sure that you are a change maker, that you are responsible, that you're professional, that you know how to effectively deal with people who have emotional pain. Because I didn't get into social work. Social work, for those of us that know a little bit about it, traditionally it's not a higher paying field. So I was going into engineering. And then it's a spiritual thing. I got impressed that no, this is the direction that you need to go. Okay. And so I'm like, well, God, where's going to be the money with that? You feel what I'm saying? I can't see any money in this direction. He was like, I'm going to take care of you. Never did I know that I would be living my dream. And I'm living my dream. And so I mean, I'm not necessarily living my dream money, but I don't know what that is. And I want to stay married nowadays because it seems like the people that have that, they got a lot of other problems. So, Biggie said more money, more problems. So I'm just, trying to find that balance. We always think we can do it better.
I tell my wife at least once a week, you're stuck with me, man.
That's it.
I'm not
It's
going
over.
back out there.
The wrap. No, I mean, and I'm glad. I like that, Joe, and I'm like that too. It's just like it's no other way, so we better figure it out.
We'll make it work, but I ain't going back out there.
Yeah. I really don't want to be back. I don't miss it. I don't miss that lifestyle. And so there was purpose in in the marriage situation.
Absolutely. Yeah. You ordered your steps for sure, man. So
Yeah, man.
what's your biggest pain point in your business right now though?
The biggest pain point right now is numbers. Numbers. I know many of you all out there probably have watched Shark Tank, and one of the things that is a prime factor to that determines are we going to pick this person up or not is, do they know their numbers? And so I do know my numbers, but not as well as I should. And I might have to reference my sheets. But overall, I know what's going on, but it's a lot that I don't. It's a lot that I don't. And so that's been the biggest pain point, is just trying to understand. And you want to understand your numbers to the point of predicting. So getting, and many of y'all probably already there, but getting to the point that, okay, if I added on, what would this person cost me? How much would they make me? How many people would they need to see in order for me to bring this amount? So if I'm saying that, hey, my goal is 350 and I want to make 350,000, then like, what does that look like hiring wise? You feel what I'm saying? So I'm talking about 350.
Yeah.
So what does that look like? Far from that, but you got to set goals. Got to set goals.
Yeah. I know a business owner, he's bringing in 50,000 a month, but his expenses 50,000 a month.
Come on, Joe. That's what I'm talking about, man.
That ain't it.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. And the more that you grow, it's kind of you some of y'all may have experienced it, Joe. You probably experienced it. The more that you grow, it does a psych job on you because your margins kind of shrink. When it was just you could keep 70, 80, 90%, even more, of the profits. But now that I'm growing, and I've got this larger building, a larger facility, and I've got all these different things that the cost of business, I start seeing my margins shrink, and I can better understand when they say 20 to 30% is you're doing good. Yeah. But when you start off, you're probably making 70, 80 or more on the margins. You don't have that much, just depending on what business you're in. And so, yeah, that's been a challenge.
Yeah, knowing your numbers, man, because if you're like me, I don't like that stuff. So I don't know them as well as I should either, man. So I'm with you on that. So was there a point in your journey where you're like, hey, man, I think this business is actually going to work? Do you kind of pinpoint a time that happened?
Yeah, that probably would have been around my second year. I learned some marketing principles, and things start really happening, and it was exciting. And it's like, man, we're doing pretty good. And as I start cutting the part-times, sometimes some of us, when we start up independent, we're working part-times to sustain and things like that. So I had probably about 2 or 3 of them, Joe. I had probably about 2 or 3, at least 3 that I was doing. along with my business. But when I started cutting them off and I started seeing that surge, once I paid for some training to learn some marketing things. So investment in training is a major thing. And that's when I started noticing, I believe that, man, this might can work. This might,
Yeah, that's a great feeling. I know that feeling. I remember that day for myself too. I was like, oh,
man.
it's a great feeling. So,
Yes,
kind of on the
yes.
flip side, has there been a point where you're like, I've had enough, shutting this thing down, getting a real job?
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been all the way to that point, but I have had some moments of fear, of thinking that I may have to go get a part-time job, pick one of those part-times back up.
Yeah,
Because, sometimes, especially when you're learning how to work when there's 3 pay periods, and you have people to pay out, you have payroll, and it's like 3 pay periods. It's like, boy, like, huh? What's left to pay bills? And Dave Ramsey's out the door. It's like, we're going to swipe today, So, yeah, those moments were scary. They were very scary, but you just it's funny because I saw this video and I saved it somewhere, and I would like to see it again, but it motivated me. And they were basically saying you don't have to have all the answers and the tools on how to pull your business out, um, but increased revenue always wins. And that's not 100% true, because like when you got a lot of expenses, that's not how it works. But overall, if you can build those revenues and focus on that, then usually that's going to be where you need to go. That's a great start. And so I just started focusing on that at that time. Let's
yeah.
just, how can we bring it in?
No downside of more money coming in the business, is
Yeah,
it?
it wasn't a downside. It's like we could solve a lot of problems we if we're growing.
Yeah. So,
So,
kind of on the tool side of things, is there an app or technology you're using right now that's really helped you out?
man, boy, it's kind of funny, but I hate this kind of cliche now already. But Chat GPT, boy, that right there is like I would be paying somebody serious money for marketing. And I just tried to subscribe, but I'm having some issues with some of that. But yeah, that's a tool that I use a whole lot. Um, probably just as much as any tool. But of course, the QuickBooks was a change, and I had to upgrade to the QuickBooks, from the QuickBooks Self-Employed to the QuickBooks Online or something like that. That's a little more comprehensive, and so that was a great tool. If I'm thinking of tools right off the bat, and and for me, it's I can't tell anybody you use it because it's a lot of glitches in it. But believe it or not, Evernote is a big tool for me because I do a lot of presentations, and it just allows for me to just capture my whole presentation as far as the video. I can have the video punched in there, the YouTube, the things I'm supposed to say, and so I can archive that. And so I use that one quite a bit as well.
There you go. Hey, Chat GPT, the grammar thing has saved me because I have no
Mm.
idea how commas work or
Yeah,
apostrophes
yeah,
or semicolons. I don't none of it.
yeah,
So there you go.
yeah,
I can just plug that in. That's been so helpful for me.
yes,
You gotta be
yeah.
careful out there, people. I've seen some of y'all use Chat GPT, and we can tell. Okay,
We can tell.
we can tell. All right, use it for
Yeah.
certain things, but make it true. Don't be.
Anytime you writing a sentence and you got a line in between, I don't even know
We
what
know,
that's called. It's like you don't write like that.
and there's a certain
His
flavor
grammar
to
is
it.
not that great. You know what I'm
Yeah, we're watching y'all. Okay.
saying? Not an English major. Most of us business people are not English majors. Like, we have some backgrounds, right?
Yeah. So on the other side, kind of what's a habit or routine that's been crucial for you in your success?
Man, just starting off my day with I'm a spiritual guy, prayer meditation, and a workout. So if I don't have that in my routine, my day usually doesn't go that well, right? Or it's I'm not feeling as on top of things. Even yesterday my workout came later. I didn't have my worship. And so it was an off day. I still got some of that in, but it's like starting it up, it just juices me up for the day. I feel like I'm ahead of things. I like to get up early, and so like this morning, we're getting ready for this retreat, but so it's throwing some things off. But normally, like on a Tuesday morning, I go hit tennis, and I'm on the court at like 6 a.m. before the sun is up now, and so just getting that in early, and because I own my own business, I get to stay a little bit late sometimes, and check in maybe a little bit later. I've had to check that too, but yeah, that is big for me. To help me to feel like I'm being disciplined and that I'm sticking with stuff, and it
Yeah.
resonates in the business.
Yeah, set the tone for the day. That's the best way to do
Yeah,
it. Get up
that's
and get it
it.
going before the rest of your day runs you. You get it going. That's it. So, is there
Yes.
someone you'd like to thank to helping you become successful?
My wife, man, hands down. My wife, she is a big play. She sacrificed her career as a nurse, a RN, and came. I had to talk her. It was a lot of talking. Man, I was just like, man, this guy's only paying you such and such. He's awesome. But I'm telling you, we could get that back if you come work for the business. And, she really enjoyed nursing, but then she also wanted to be at home with our daughter, who was, born shortly after I started the business. I think she was born in, okay, so here we go with dads. I think in 2018, 2019. Yeah. And so yeah, it was a big deal, man. I think she was in 19. So it was a big deal for her to be able to um help us out. And so she's been super instrumental on building this business.
That's cool,
Yeah.
man. Y'all can work together. Like my wife on
Yeah.
paper is the secretary of the business, but
Yeah.
you don't have to do a whole lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I have a
yeah.
pretty simple business. So luckily I
It's
have a
pretty
pretty simple
simple.
business.
That's
Yeah.
what's up. Hey, not mad at that. Not mad at that at all.
Just
Yeah.
out there. I on paper had to have somebody, right? And she does keep me straight though. She does keep me organized and things like that. That's a very important
Yeah.
job because I can't do that. So, is there a business owner in the community in the Huntsville, Madison community you really admire?
A business owner in Huntsville. Yeah, it's a couple. One that comes to mind is David Peterson. I have to mention him. David Peterson, he's a physical therapist. And he was in business prior to me, and I got to see his marketing game, Joe. This guy was like killing it. He was having 5Ks. He anytime you see him, he'll have his practice. I think is dynamic physical therapy, but he would always have the gear, and he would have the nice shirts, and you know and so that got me in the mindset. And then and this is the thing, and Joe, you were one of those guys too, man. um Joe took the time to talk to me when I was just starting out my business. We didn't know each other from Adam, and we met up at back then it's Books a Million. I don't even know if it's taken down by now. I think it's something else there. But we met there and had a great conversation, and Joe put me on to some of the things he was doing just with marketing. And so that was a big thing. And so I appreciate that, Joe. But yeah, David Peterson. Yeah, he influenced me a lot with what he was doing, just again, as a man, as a family man, as a his wife is a social worker as well. Um that was my wife's first career. And so, yeah, we identified in a lot of areas.
Yeah, there you go, man. You can just tell people that are in it for the right reasons and will do a good job and do people right. And I want to help
Yeah,
out any way I can. So I knew you're going to do
yeah.
good, man. Look at you, yeah, you're killing it.
Man, I needed that motivation because you were already into some things that I was interested in. You were already putting your hands on it, and you weren't trying to, like, sometimes you meet with people and they're scared to say hello, like, or I'm going to give you my whole business plan and my contacts and everything. It's like, no, it's all right to, just share a little bit.
Oh yeah,
And so that's how I am with people. If they want to know, I tell them, hey, there's some things you might want to look into, And so, yeah, I
yeah.
appreciate that.
Send the elevator back down, man. If you're up there,
That's
send it back
right.
down to the next guy. Let him come over
Yes,
there with you. You ain't gonna be on.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's how we grow. That's how the city gets better as a whole. That's
It
what we're doing with the
does.
podcast. That's what the whole idea is, man.
Yes,
So if you
absolutely.
could connect with somebody in this area that could help your business, would there be something you got in mind?
Um, well, I'm trying to connect more with the hospitals. um some of the hospitals, because a lot of times they have a lot of clients, individuals who are in pediatrics, because we're now accepting Medicaid. I hadn't been real crazy about that because their reimbursements are terrible, but I was a product of the system. I didn't really like it, but it did help. And so those who are financially challenged, at least for now, we've extended that, and so we're accepting more Medicaid clients now, and so that's a big deal.
Yeah, that is a big deal,
Yeah,
man. So
yeah. So that's the kind of ministry area there.
yeah, that's for sure. It's definitely, you talk about pediatrics too,
Yeah,
mental health right now. That is as a
yeah,
lane you need to be in, man, because it's bad. If you guys aren't
yes.
familiar with it, it's bad.
And that's where we're trying to pick up. We're trying to pick up with pediatrics, and we accept most major insurance plans, not just Medicaid. But you're right, Joe, because it's amazing the suicide rate for young kids. I think it's in between 10 and maybe the youth. I think it goes to maybe 10 and 20 something. Is alarmingly high.
Yeah,
And
it's the second leading cause of death for 10 to 14-year-olds, and the leading
that
cause.
it's 10 to 4. I thought it was a
Yeah,
4. I was thinking 24.
yeah,
It's 10
and
to
then it's the
14.
leading cause 13, 14-year-olds. It's the leading cause of death, suicide.
Man,
That's where we're at in this country right
leading cause, yeah. And when I first discovered that stat, I was like, this can't be. But how do they even know what to do? And
now. Yeah,
yeah, it's happening. And I hear things from my clinicians as well as some of my supervisees, and it's amazing. Yeah, just at that. Hey, I have a 10-year-old, man. So that's like,
yeah,
ooh,
yeah. Can you
yeah,
imagine? That's what, man. I heard that
yeah,
stat, and I couldn't let it go, man. It's just,
yeah.
but yeah. So that's it. So if you were kind of switching gears a little bit, man, I'm gonna
No,
start
no, it's
crying and
good.
get depressed over
Yeah,
here, man.
yeah, me too, right? Go hug my daughter, man.
But if someone came to you and was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about starting a small business here in Huntsville," what would you tell them?
I tell them get to know people, like what I did with Joe. I think at that time I got into a network. It was I forgot what they call them, but basically where you go and meet with other entrepreneurs, and connect and things like that. So maybe something like that, but definitely you want to network and you want to start with the basics. I mean, the card works. The card works for me. I mean, that's like real old school, but it's something that just doesn't go away because you want people to know who you are. And so and definitely making your presence online. You wherever one of the number one things I always say is that you want to find where the people are that's trying to find you and make your presence there. Wherever that is, show up in those places. Show up in those businesses. Show up and you never know. I was at the gym the other day, and it was this one guy. He was talking, and the way he was talking, I ain't gonna lie, it didn't really impress me a lot. And the old school guy that was in there was trying to encourage him, like, you never know who's your next client. You never know. And he was kind of taking it in a little bit, but it's like you don't know. And then there was another guy in there, he's a builder and things. It's like, but you might not think that this person is your ideal client, but you don't know who they're connected to. You don't know who their spouse is, you know, who they're related to. And so always be you're never not working if you're an entrepreneur because
Yep.
you're representing your brand unless you're like this faceless brand. But that's probably not the best route to go when you're starting. You've got to show your face to build credit. Then you can fade back. But yeah, I think that it's important to represent wherever you are.
I'm with you, especially in the Huntsville area. It's a big, small town. I mean,
Thank you. Thank you. It
it's
is.
going to come back around. So relationships are so important. You nailed it right there.
Yes,
I
definitely.
mean, I know people listening right now would love to know, how can I connect with this guy? How can I work with him? What's the best way for him to get with you?
Yes, a great way to get with us is to call us up. Our number is 256-212-0567. That's 256-212-0567. That way you can reach us direct by phone. But if you wanted to contact us by email, you can contact us at Choya, CHOYA _youth at Aspire, and that's spelled ASPIRE counselingal.com.
Reach out to Troy and his team. They can help you. I
Definitely.
promise you they can help you. We'll put their
Definitely.
website in there as well. You can check that out. And if you're, please share this episode. Someone needs to hear
Yeah,
about what Choya does. Maybe they
definitely.
can come alongside. And if you know someone at the hospital that can help out. So, man, we could just keep growing this thing. So, Troy, keep up the great work. I appreciate what you're doing out there.
Absolutely, Joe. And you too. You're a motivator, seeing you, what you're doing in the community, making a big impact. Starting this podcast is a big deal. We need to hear more of your voice because it's great stuff that you talk about. And I love the way that you connect with people. And so looking at what you're doing, admiring it, man.
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play that one over and over when I'm feeling like I'm not doing a good job.
Run that one.
Yeah, you can bill me on that one. So if you guys are listening, right, please share this episode. We'll see you next week on the Huntsville Hustle podcast.